Humans are one of the only two animals that have ever been observed performing surgical amputations. Do you want to guess what the other animal is? That would be the carpenter ant, specifically observed in the Florida carpenter ant. Now, ants do pretty much across the board have a record of taking care of injured hive mates. Now, most of them have a special gland in their face area that secretes this kind of antimicrobial goo. When a hive mate is injured, they will spread that goo onto the injury, and then that just stops the bacteria from taking over and then potentially causing problems in the rest of the colony. However, carpenter ants have secondarily lost that gland, so they are not able to put that antimicrobial goo on injuries, so they have to have a different strategy. If one of these ants sustain an injury that is too detrimental to part of the leg, then its hive mates will possibly perform an amputation on them. Now that does depend on where on the leg the injury was sustained. Now this is kind of a diagram of the ant's legs. You see up here there is the femur, the tibia, and then a bunch of other stuffs. Amputations will only be performed if the injury is somewhere on the femur. If it is on the tibia or lower, then they will not perform an amputation. Now, the hypothesized reason for this is that it has to do with blood flow and the speed of which bacteria circulates throughout the body. Now, the femur up here has muscles in it to stop the hemolymph or ant blood from circulating through the body in case of injury, whereas in the tibia and lower, there are no muscles like that. So if the injury is in the femur, the blood circulates quite a bit slower and the ants have time to provide a successful amputation. Whereas if it's in the tibia or any lower, the bacteria is circulating way too fast and an amputation really just is not effective at all, and kind of they can only hope for the best. Now, if the injury is any lower than the femur, kind of the strategy is to just kind of lick at the wound and hope for the best, get some antimicrobial properties, even though it's not that special goo, but it doesn't really work as effectively. So scientists ran an experiment and they found that ants that had their leg amputated had a 90 to 95% survival rate. The ants with lower leg injuries and had to be licked instead of amputated had a 75% survival rate. And in ants that were untreated completely, so no amputation or wound cleaning, if the wound was in the femur, they had a 40% survival rate. Any lower than that, they had a 15% survival rate. Follow-up on those ants that had amputations showed that they basically still functioned as normal ants, and the loss of a limb did not have any significant impact on the rest of their life.